A 60-year-old woman was cleaning windows on a skyscraper. She accidentally fell from the 30th floor down to the 18th floor. Fortunately, her safety harness saved her life. The commotion outside caught the attention of a CEO in a meeting on the 18th floor. The moment the CEO pulled back the blinds, the woman's face made him freeze in shock. This woman was the mother who had abandoned him 20 years ago. He immediately ordered his staff to rescue her, but he had no intention of reuniting with his mother. Instead, he demanded that the woman who had callously cast him aside kneel and apologize to him. It turns out that 20 years ago, he and his sister both suffered from congenital heart disease, but his mother cruelly gave him away to a wealthy family. She even said harshly that he was nothing but a burden, claiming there was no place for him in this family anymore. She never wanted to see him again. His mother's heartless words filled the CEO with resentment for 20 years. 20 years later, the CEO spent millions on an artificial heart transplant. He returned to his hometown with his wife and kids, but he wasn't there to bring his mother back. He only came to take his sister to the city for a better life. What the CEO didn't know was that his mother had her reasons back then. It turned out his condition was much worse than his sister's. The doctors said he wouldn't survive more than 7 days. Just then, a neighbor told her about a wealthy childless couple. They hoped she would give her critically ill son to them. That way her son could get the treatment he needed. As a mother, how could she bear to give away her own child? She insisted she would sell her kidney, her blood, anything to save her son. But fate had other plans. That very night, her son suffered severe heart failure. Without immediate treatment, he wouldn't survive the night. Just then, the neighbor said the wealthy family had arrived. If she didn't make a decision soon, her son would die. To save her son's life, she tearfully put him in the wealthy family's car. She knew her son was stubborn by nature, afraid he'd refuse treatment and come back looking for her. So she said some harsh words, but her son misunderstood her for 20 whole years. Now he only wanted to take his sister back to the city for a better life. But when he knocked on the door, a stranger answered. After asking around, he learned his mother had sold the house 20 years ago, and his sister had died from heart disease because they couldn't afford treatment. The man's words pierced the CEO's heart like a sword. Now both the person he hated most and loved most were dead. His whole world crumbled at that moment. Little did he know his sister and mother were still alive. To pay for her daughter's treatment, she worked 5 jobs every day, even took her daughter to church every week to pray. The church pastor was so moved by this mother's love. He gave them money from the donation box, but unexpectedly, her daughter's condition suddenly worsened that day. If they couldn't raise $200,000 for surgery, she might not survive the next episode. Hearing about the $200,000 surgery cost, she collapsed right on the floor, but she had to save her daughter. To raise the surgery money as quickly as possible, she not only worked multiple jobs daily, but even took dangerous jobs only men would normally do, because the more dangerous the work, the better it paid. But she nearly lost her life due to faulty safety equipment. What she didn't know was her boss was the son she'd been missing for years. After 20 years apart, both mother and son had changed so much. The mother didn't recognize the CEO as her son, but the CEO felt this woman looked just like his mother. However, remembering the folks back home said his mother died 10 years ago, he figured it was just a resemblance. The manager beside him saw someone her age sneaking into work, not only scolded her for endangering everyone, but wanted to kick her out of the company. The mother broke down, saying she couldn't lose this job. Her daughter was waiting for surgery money. She even dropped to her knees, bowing repeatedly to the CEO. The CEO, seeing the woman do anything to save her daughter, couldn't help but think of the mother who abandoned him. The CEO's wife standing nearby was also moved by the woman's story. She gave the woman $1,000 as today's wages, and hoped she wouldn't do such dangerous work anymore. But the woman said the money wasn't nearly enough. The manager thought she was being greedy, angrily wanted to throw her out. Even the CEO thought she was just trying to take advantage. Finally, the manager unceremoniously threw the woman out. The CEO thoughtfully told his wife, if his own mother had been as responsible as this woman back then, he and his sister would never have been separated. But what he didn't know was, since the day she sent him away, his mother cried herself to sleep every night. Now the woman's greatest wish was to find her son, but without money for a hospital room, she and her daughter could only sleep in the free hospital corridors. They could only afford instant ramen for meals, but when her daughter wanted her to have a bite, the woman made excuses saying she'd already eaten, even said her workplace served meals with chicken. Her thoughtful daughter knew her mother was lying. Not wanting to burden her mother, she wanted to give up treatment. But how could a mother give up on her child? No matter how much she suffered, she would save her daughter's life. Just then, the CEO also came to the hospital for his son's checkup, and immediately recognized the woman from this morning. So he quickly asked the nurse about the woman's situation. The nurse said the woman's daughter had heart disease, but the woman couldn't afford the surgery. Hearing this from the nurse, he realized he'd misunderstood the woman this morning. His wife quickly told the nurse to arrange a room for the woman, and promised to cover the costs herself. And so, the nurse took the girl to a hospital room. After her daughter left, the mother picked up her daughter's leftover ramen. Hid in an empty corner corner and dipped bread in the ramen broth to fill her stomach. This scene deeply moved the CEO's family, so he told his assistant to have the hospital reduce part of her daughter's surgery costs. What no one expected was, the girl's condition worsened again. The doctor told the woman, the girl must have surgery tonight, otherwise her life would be in constant danger. But just as the woman was about to find money, her daughter called out to her, and gave her mother the same lucky charm her brother had around his neck, because this charm was their token to recognize their brother. The daughter told her mother she must find her brother, but the mother firmly told her daughter she would never let anything happen to her. Then she took the charm and knelt at the hospital entrance, hoping some kind soul would help. Just as the CEO walked out of the hospital, he noticed his lucky charm was missing, and the mother's motion of stuffing money in her pocket made the assistant think she was hiding something. The assistant immediately approached, demanding the woman hand over what was in her pocket. Hearing the assistant say this, plus the woman was the only stranger they'd encountered today, so they all suspected the woman had stolen the charm. The assistant started searching the woman. Coincidentally, the assistant really did find a lucky charm in the woman's pocket. The woman frantically said it was her own, but the CEO said he'd felt sorry for her and tried to help, never expecting she was a thief. Despite the woman's constant explanations that she hadn't stolen anything, no one believed her. She was even kicked to the ground by the assistant, who even wanted to call the police, but the CEO said since they'd found it, let it go. But how could the woman let them leave? It was her only token to recognize her son, but they thought the woman just wanted money, so the CEO threw money in the woman's face, warning her not to push her luck. Even though the woman begged repeatedly, the CEO walked away without looking back. But the CEO didn't know. Tonight he would regret this for the rest of his life.